how did you find what God called you to do?
It was when I was able to get out of my comfort zone in North Carolina and get real with myself of like, okay, what am I here to do?
You don't want people to shape your destiny. You want God to shape your destiny. And so that goes back again to the choices that we choose every day. And those choices, those small little choices, lead to those seeds of legacy. Welcome to the Collective Talk Podcast Season 4, where we share reflections on prayer, family, and ministry. On today's episode, we'll be talking all about legacy, and I have a beautiful friend and special guest on the show with me today, Leah Thompson Smith. And I'm so excited because she used to live here in Orange County, and I'm so bummed that she moved to Nashville, where I feel like a lot of Californians are moving to Nashville. But can you help me welcome Leah Thompson Smith to the show? Well, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad it worked out and honored that you asked me.
I'm so honored. And like I said, I feel like, you know, when you moved to Nashville, I was like, oh my gosh, I love Leah. I want her to stay here forever. And, but it's so crazy. I feel like a lot of the Californians for a while there
100%.
Were moving to, well, first I feel like it was Idaho or Texas. Mm-hmm. And then I think they upped the prices in all those places. And so now people picked Nashville. And Nashville, I still haven't been. I need to go. Can you believe
crazy.
that?
Has Mark been?
No, he's not even been
y'all
either.
need to come.
I know, and
That's
all of
wild.
our friends are asking us, you got to come visit. And but we just need to make a point to go out there.
Yeah, but maybe the Lord's keeping you from Nashville because you'll want to move.
Because we'll want to move. Okay, yes, maybe that could possibly it. But
No,
do they
I'm
have
kidding.
an ocean though?
No.
I feel like Mark's like, I don't know if we can move anywhere that doesn't have an ocean.
That's been the hardest part for me.
Okay.
Is not having an ocean.
Okay. So before we dive in, you've got to tell us a little bit about your backstory, like how you came to California, just a little bit about who you are and all of that.
Yeah. So I grew up in North Carolina, born and raised. All my family's still there. And when I turned 18, shortly after that, it's a whole God story, but ended up moving to California. And I worked with Rip Curl for about 7.5 years total. But it made sense for me to move to California because of the surfing. But there was a whole nother story that actually led me to California because I didn't actually have to be here for surfing because I traveled so much out of North Carolina. But yeah, grew up surfing. Dad got me into it when I was little. Ended up making the move out here away from family, which was such a big change. Found oceans. Like my life completely changed when I moved to California, and then just got married last year and moved to Nashville. And that's a massive change, growing up by the ocean your whole life. But it's 100% where I'm supposed to be. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, you're an incredible surfer. Like for those that you should follow her on Instagram and you could see some probably reels of you surfing. And I'm always just so amazed. So your dad taught you, you said.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
About as soon as I could walk, he put me on a surfboard.
No way.
Yes.
So you were doing it since you were little.
Yes, very little.
Wow, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
And then you said you recently got married, which honestly, she was the prettiest bride ever.
Oh my gosh.
And, but yeah, so how did you guys meet, you and Connor?
So I was living in California and he travels for work. He's a country artist and he was out here playing a little songwriter's night. And I knew his guitar player at the time because one of my best friends married a guy in Nashville who was best friends with his guitar player. And that's a whole story in itself, but they invited me out to the show and my best friend and I didn't have anything going on. So we went and met Connor that night and honestly didn't get to know him. We just met briefly, but I invited him or both of them to church the next morning. I was like, you guys have to come check out this church if you're here that I go to. And they were like, darn, we fly out the next morning. Like we can't.
Oh, yeah.
But they wake up the next morning and their flight's completely canceled.
Oh, no way.
So do you know this story?
No.
Yeah. So they Ubered from the San Diego airport after they found out their flight was canceled, to Oceans that Sunday. And that Sunday when Mark was preaching, like completely changed Connor where he was at. Wow. And Connor had the foundation, but he was just getting into really traveling. And that was a very pivotal moment that he talks about, is like Mark's message just spoke directly to his heart. And then we became friends, and Connor got connected with Mark and would start coming out here. And then we started dating probably like 6 months after we met. And just got married last year.
Oh, so cute. So you guys, you've been married for a year.
Yes.
That's crazy
I know,
to think
insane.
about. Oh
it's
my
insane.
gosh. Well, you're the most beautiful bride, like I said, and you guys are the cutest couple. Aww. And Connor Smith is, like she said, a country artist, and it's so cool to just watch a lot of his music, just doing so well. And we love following along your guys' journey, and we love you guys so much. We're so proud of you.
We love you guys.
And so you did Oceans College, from our church.
Yep.
And how did that, do you think, shape your spiritual life, your leadership, all of that?
Like there's too much, I feel like, to say, but it was crazy because I didn't go to college in the first place because I was surfing, and never saw myself going back into a school environment. But before I started it, God had been speaking to me like through the birthing process. I remember talking to you about this, and I was at coffee with Danny, and she had spoken to me something about how like the college was 9 months long, and it was kind of like the pregnancy like length or whatever. And I just like felt like that was what I was supposed to do as part of the birthing process. And so it was totally this whole preparation. And I couldn't have seen like what this past year would have held, but doing the college prepared me for so much of it. And honestly, this past year was like one of the most trying seasons I've been through, but the college fully prepared me for it and things that I was able to pull from. So
that's awesome. Well, we loved having you be a part of it, and it was just so cool to watch your growth. And so I know so many girls look up to you, Leah, just your example of faith. And, you started your own business and all of that. And I'm going to ask you some questions about that. But I know so many young girls look up to you. And what inspired you? So you started a brand, so Legacy, the label, and you started that, which is so cool. It's a swimwear brand, and there's so much more to it than that. But I love every piece that you designed and all of that. But what made you, how did you start that brand and that business?
Well, it's been a desire of my heart, genuinely, as long as I can remember. Growing up surfing, like I obviously was always in a bathing suit, worked with Rip Curl, surfing and traveling with them, doing campaign stuff for them. My last year with them, I did a swimwear design internship. And so I got to learn behind the scenes, and my grandma had taught me how to sew when I was little. So even growing up, like I would cut apart my old bathing suits and re-sew them together.
No way. Wow.
And so I knew I always wanted to do something with design and fashion, and I didn't know what it was. Like I didn't know it was going to be a swimwear brand, and not only a swimwear brand, but that would be where it started. And so I just always had that desire. And then after I stopped working with Rip Curl, doors kind of opened for me to just start stepping in that. And I dreamed a ton into it. And even the name Legacy like goes back to my grandma, of just the generational, like what she passed down to me in sewing, but not only in sewing, of just the other core things of what I want the brand to stand for. And doors started opening. It all fell into place. And it's been a journey figuring out what it looks like to run a business. But I know more than I did last year, and figuring it out as I go.
That's amazing. Well, so Legacy, the label. So when you started that, what would be the biggest challenge or challenges that you talked about was trying, but what was some of the challenges that you faced? I mean, starting a business is is like no small feat.
Totally.
You know, you have to, I know I started a business when Mark and I were newly married.
Yeah.
And so it's no small thing, but
Yeah.
what would be some of the challenges that you faced
Totally.
that you would like, you can talk about, or maybe you could help other people that are
Yeah.
starting a business that have gone through things, and
Yeah.
how can you encourage them as well?
Yeah. I think physically the hardest thing was finding the manufacturer, the right one to work with. And I had gone down to Miami Swim Week with my cousin, and because I had just heard from people, and like you try to search it online and the websites are not good for manufacturers. Like I wanted a face-to-face connection with someone to be able to talk to them and hear more. And my cousin was like kind of throwing it out there. She owns a store, and she was just saying, hey, my cousin's trying to start a swimwear brand. Like, do you know any manufacturers or whatever? And it was the last day, genuinely like right before I flew out, that this lady was like, yeah, I've worked in the swim industry and I'm from Columbia. I'll go back and tour manufacturers for you and give you all their info. And she had no reason to help me other than like knowing my cousin from working with her. So even in that, and the timing of it too, I'd like been kind of discouraged, like, because I hadn't met the connection throughout the trip. And I went back to the pool and was just reading my Bible, and like something shifted in the sense of I knew that if this is what I was being called into, it had to look different. And I kind of felt myself too that week, like succumbing and just being shut down because the industry just felt intense. And I just felt the Lord say, like, if you're going to walk into this, you have to be different. And I was like, okay, like, and it was right after that my cousin was like, you need to come back up here because I just met somebody that's going to help you. And so I like ran up there literally right before my flight. And so I think that is like actually taking steps to put yourself in the position to meet people and the face-to-face connection with people instead of, I don't know, like it just fell into place. And it was a timing thing of after the Rip Curl door shut, like this opened. And so that was the physical side of things. But like all the other challenges are just choosing to have faith each day because you don't know what it looks like. And I don't know, like I'm figuring out day by day, and I don't get this, like, I feel like I have vision for long term, but it's day by day of how you get there.
Yeah.
And yeah, just waking up and choosing to have faith and ask God what he has for you that day. And there's so many like mental challenges that come along with that because you see these brands that seem to pop up overnight and you're like, well, my brand's not doing that, or it just looks different right now. And yeah, just choosing to trust God and his timing. And that's not always easy.
Yeah, it's the truth. I love that you say that. It's just choosing to trust God daily. And I think that's, you know, legacy. The seeds of legacy is your daily choices. I truly believe are the seeds of legacy. And so the choices that you make today make you. Yeah. And it not only makes you, but it not only creates moments in your life, but choices that we make on the daily create direction. Yeah. And so I think that's why I love you, because you kept, you know, it isn't easy to start a business or whatever God's called you into. Yeah. But the choices that we make are seeds of legacy.
100%.
And so I think if we choose every day, no, this is what God's called me to do, and maybe it didn't look the way that we thought, but every choice, the choices that I made, you know, growing up, and the choice to move here to California. Yeah. I wouldn't have met you. We wouldn't have started Oceans Church. You know, my whole plan after high school was to go straight to fashion school. Yeah. And so I thought, that's exactly what I'm called to do. You know, I'm going to go to fashion school. I had the plane ticket. I had everything. And then God said, nope, that's not what you're supposed to do. Yeah. And so I told my parents, I said, I can't explain it, but I made that choice that I wasn't going to go to that fashion school. Yeah. And I was going to stay at home and do Bible college. And because of that choice that I made, it changed the direction and the trajectory of my life. Yeah. And then and it was Seeds of Legacy, because now look, it's just crazy. You know, we started Oceans Church. I wouldn't have met Mark 100%. If I would have went to fashion school.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have started Oceans Church. And so I think I love that you're saying the choices that we choose every day are so important, to
100%.
trust in God, to have faith, and just believe that, you know, God sees the bigger picture, 100%. But we only see in part. So I love that you say that. And so Legacy, your label is just incredible. What would you say was the meaning behind it? Or it's about creating legacy. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah. Well, even the seeds of faith that you're talking about made me think it's just so generational, everything that we do. And I mean, the decisions that I'm making today are totally setting up like what my kids will walk in one day. And the decisions that my grandma made and the faith that she walked in, I'm so inspired by and get to walk in that today. And that's something Connor and I talk about all the time. But like legacy was totally a dream birthed in my heart that rooted in so much from my grandma. Like she is hands down one of the most inspiring people that I've ever met. And I don't know, I hope my kids will be able to see that in me and things that I walked in and want to do the same, you know, and carry it on. And there's a meaning of legacy that I saw that I loved, and it's to make a stamp on future generations. And legacy is to make a stamp on future generations and a mark. God, how is it? It's like to make a mark on future generations and put a stamp on the future, I think is what it is.
That's beautiful.
And being able to just have that viewpoint of it standing for something more than itself and more than just a brand of making fast clothes and fashion, but like something that stands for something else. And we give a percentage of all of our profit to Angel House, which I know you guys do a lot with.
That's amazing.
Lindsay's great. And just how can you use everything for generational impact instead of just right now, you know?
So powerful. And that's why I love what you're doing. It's just so cool to watch. And for those of you that don't know about Angel House, it's so amazing. They build orphanages really all over, but mainly in India. And so our church is a part of that. And then your brand is helping with that as well. And so the kids that are living on the streets in India, they create a home, a safe place. They do schooling, all the stuff. They create wells, drinking wells, safe, pure water for them. So it's pretty amazing. So
100%.
The fact that your brand is helping with that is just amazing. I love that. So I love your label and everything that you're doing. And so for those that maybe want to step out and want to launch their brand, but maybe feel misunderstood, what would you say to that? For those that maybe are like, well, if I start this, maybe people must understand what I'm doing, or what would you say to that?
Well, the fear of being misunderstood has been one of the main things I've pinpointed in myself, of even moving to Nashville, starting a swimwear brand. To me, in my head, I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. There's no ocean here. Like, what are people going to think, you know? It made sense in California maybe, but it feels different now. And I had someone speak into me that Jesus, he was fully sinless. He was fully perfect in all that he did. And he was the most misunderstood person ever. He was nailed on a cross because of it. And to me, that was a freeing thing of like, if I speak, if I don't, if I start this brand, if I don't, whatever it is, in genuinely every area, you still are left up for misinterpretation. And that was so freeing for me, because I'm like, it genuinely does not matter if you do it or not, you're still going to be misunderstood. So that fear is always going to be there, you know?
Right.
And a lot of times you do have to walk things out to break it. And just recognizing that Jesus in his perfection was still misunderstood, you know?
That's so good, because, you know, I've always felt that way in ministry, because, you know, how could a pastor or a person in ministry also love fashion?
Yeah.
And so, you know, for those that don't know, I used to blog and do fashion stuff. I had a magazine and all of that. And I was so misunderstood. People would say things about me like, you can't do both. And, you can't be a pastor and love fashion.
Yeah.
That's just, they tried to put me in a box and say you couldn't do both. And that's so worldly if you're a pastor and you love fashion. But that's just the way that God created me. And so I was misunderstood.
Yeah.
But I love that you said that that Jesus, he was perfect and he was the most misunderstood. And so it's so true. And I think that that's some things that, and I think the fear of man can play into that. Like we can kind of play into, well, I want the applause of men. I want them to like me.
Yeah.
I want people to like what I'm doing and to like me. We all want to be liked. We all want to feel loved and liked by people. And so when we feel misunderstood, that can kind of play into our, well, I'm not going to start that brand, or I'm going to stop that brand because people are totally misunderstanding me. But no, you just got to do what God's called you to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think the fear of being misunderstood goes hand in hand with fear of man.
Yeah, it's true. Because it's the more that we fear man, the Bible talks about the fear of man proves to be a snare. Mm-hmm. And so that if that's the case, if the fear of man proves to be a snare, and so we're trapped.
Yeah.
When we have the fear of man and when we feel maybe misunderstood and we back up, we take steps backwards because we feel like, oh man, I want to please these people. I want them to like me.
You want to play it safe and
you
leave the misinterpretation to somebody else.
Exactly. And then you let them, in a sense, shape your destiny.
Yeah.
And you don't want people to shape your destiny. You want God to shape your destiny. And so that goes back again to the choices that we choose every day. And those choices, those small little choices, lead to those seeds of legacy. Yeah. And so we want something to outlive us. And, if we choose to let people shape us by their words, then we're not going to have those seeds of legacy. Something is not going to outlive us because we're going to live in our comfort zone all of our life. And so I think that that's so profound. I love that you said that. So what has been the most rewarding part about starting your brand, do you think?
Yeah. The most rewarding part by far is seeing things that I've dreamed about, designs and sketches just on a flat piece of paper come to life. And I had this cool thing happen the other day where my goal for this year is to get better at sewing myself, because I was like, that's a whole nother element that's so cool to see things come to life if your hands are actually the ones doing it. And I'm not the best, but I know the basics from my grandma. And so I'd honestly been feeling this prompting of like getting better at sewing and getting more hands-on involved. And so I went and got fabric and like sewed a pair of shorts the other day.
How amazing.
And if you look up close, like not the greatest.
Not the greatest?
But can I wear them around the house? Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And I was wearing them and I was like, gosh, to somebody else, like no one would think these were special. But because I made these with my own hands, like there's a uniqueness about it. And I'm taking pride and joy in these shorts that I made. And I was like, how much is that a glimpse of God's heart for us?
That's beautiful.
Of him like fashioning us together with his hands, like out of dirt. And maybe other people don't recognize the value in that, but like he takes so much pride and joy in us as his kids that he made. And I don't know, I just felt that reflection. I was like, that's so cool that so much of his heart is creation. And you get to model that through design. And I don't know, Connor gets to model it through writing songs, and there's so many different outlets of that. But I love seeing just a flat piece of paper come to life.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, and that's just, you're such a creative. And so just seeing that, I think we're all called to create. Yeah. I think many times people are like, well, I'm not an artist or I'm not a fashion designer or whatever. But God's called all of us to create because he's our example, and we're called to mirror him. Yeah. And Christ formed in us. I really, truly believe that God's called all of us to be creative, whether we feel like we're not creative. Because I always would tell, I would teach college, and I would always tell them they're all creative. And they would come up to me afterwards. They're like, Pastor Rachelle, I'm not creative. And I'm like, yes, you are.
Yeah.
You know, whether you have a gift of encouragement or the words that you speak, you know, some of them were great communicators and they thought, oh, well, I had to be an artist to be creative. No, God's called all of us to be creative in our own way. And so I love that you say all of that. As you look to the future, what do you see your label, or what are the dreams that you have in your heart for that, for your label?
Right now, it's definitely more specific to swimwear because that's what I know and have experience in. But I would love for it to be so much more and branch off into clothing and for each piece and collection to tell a story behind it. And yeah, I just have dreams of the brand itself making a lasting impact on generations to come. Just going back to the name again, Legacy. And there's so many things, and I don't know exactly what they will look like, but yeah, just the word that I have from the Lord for it right now is just be faithful with what's in front of you. And that's where I'm at. And yeah, just trusting him with the outcomes of things, not being so on top of it, of this is what it has to look like, but being open to what he has.
So good. So would you say, how did you find like your calling? How did you, because you're walking in that right now, a lot of times people have this idea of calling.
Yeah.
And how did you find what God called you to do?
Yeah. I think it was when I moved to California that was such a massive question of like, what am I really supposed to do? And it was when I was able to get out of my comfort zone in North Carolina and yeah, just push myself out of my comfort zone and get real with myself of like, okay, what am I here to do? Like, what are the things that I'm so passionate about? And God, how do you want to use that? Because I believe that God gives you passions and desires for a reason. He puts dreams on your heart for a reason. And it was honestly when I started going to Oceans, like you guys are such a dreamer church of believing God for the impossible. Yeah. And Dominic Russo was speaking at a Wednesday Wisdom at San Juan. And he was like kind of telling the whole story about some of the things with Missions Me. And that was, I want to say it was like right after that the Lord gave me the name Legacy, because I always wanted to have some sort of brand and knew that was a desire and passion in my heart. And yeah, things just started aligning. And I mean, when you're walking with God, like even if it's not laid out from day one, and there's something like I've heard, if it's not the thing that you're doing now, like it'll lead to the thing if you're walking with God.
That's good. So
I just feel like he reveals your steps as you go. And there's a grace for it if you are graced for it, you know?
That's really
and
good.
You just know, in a sense.
Yes.
And you figure it out if you don't know.
But it is in the steps, saying yes to God.
Yeah, just daily obedience.
Daily obedience.
Yeah.
That's so good. And a lot of times people think that it's like we have to see from A to Z. We have to see the whole picture right away. But God doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's in our yielding, it's in our yes, it's in our obedience, it's in even our discomfort too.
Totally.
Talking about it might be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because we can't see the bigger picture, but keep saying yes to God. And then it's like you said, you know, thy word is a lamp unto my feet. The Bible talks about it. Thy word is a lamp to my feet and light unto my path. Yeah. And so the more I believe that you're in the word, you're staying close to the Holy Spirit, you're listening to his voice, and you're just yielding to him, the more he'll light up your path.
100%.
But I think that we're co-laborers with God. And so God works with us. I don't know why he chooses to, but he loves us and he loves to co-create and co-labor, and so he uses people. And so I think that taking those steps, like you said, are so key to finding your calling. Yeah. And so many people think, again, they have to have this massive, huge picture of, God, show me exactly what I'm called to do. Show me the huge, massive picture But it's in the daily steps.
Yeah.
It's our daily choices. It's the yes to God when things are uncomfortable. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, I know that comfort is, a lot of times people want comfort.
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about that? Because starting a label, starting a brand, moving away to Nashville, like things had to have felt uncomfortable, but you knew that's what God wanted you to step into,
100%.
right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Even this morning, also, I've noticed myself doing the thing that you were talking about. And so I'm like trying to refrain, but I'm agreeing with everything you're saying.
We talked about this earlier before the podcast, because I'm such a vocal person when people are talking. I really want, I'm in agreement with them. So I'm usually saying, yes, wow, but I don't want to do that. So she was saying that. Yeah.
But this morning I was just talking to Connor, because this whole year, this moving to Nashville, and I got a word from Pastor Jay Smith right before I moved that God was about to flip my life upside down and right side up and use me for his glory. And I was always like, like, what does that look like for my life to be flipped upside down? And I was like, surely it's not moving to Nashville. Like, I know God's calling me here. So how is this going to be turning my life upside down? But in so many ways, it was a complete, like, I'm going to turn you upside down, shake out everything you know, and then allow you to rebuild like solely on me in a lot of ways. And like everything that can be shaken will be shaken. And I felt like that's what this past season has been for me in ways of like my community changed. I got married, wasn't near an ocean, which had been like my outlet my whole life. Just everything seemed to be completely different. And I was listening to something this morning that was so good. And I've heard the analogy of a horse being broken before, but it just hit me in such a way of like, that's what this season has been in so many ways, of like to be able to be fully submissive and yield to God and everything. Like, you do have to be broken, and you do have to be taken out of your comfort zone. If everything's perfect around you, then like you just don't really know until you are taken out of your comfort zone, or till something comes and shakes you a little bit, you know? And then who I was listening to was also talking about, which I've never heard this story talked about in this way, but Jacob's wrestle with God, being specifically like his hip broken. His hip, or your hip, is the strongest joint in your body, which can carry like up to 5 times the weight of anything else or something. And I felt like surfing, in a sense, and just so many things that I was comfortable with in North Carolina and California, like got taken away and like hit in the hip when I moved to Nashville, because everything was just new. Yeah. And in that, like, it's hard when you can't see the bigger picture sometimes and you only see what's right in front of you. I'm like, God, why did you take me to Nashville and like allow all this or whatever? Because it wasn't the enemy like taking that away. It was totally God just repositioning me because he wanted me to go through this. And it's so good to be out of your comfort zone. And I think I'm in a sense on the other side of like, okay, he's flipping me right side up. Like, I know this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, but yeah, it's not easy to walk through, but it's necessary, because God can only use you if you are fully surrendered and yielded to his will, not your own.
That's so beautiful. I love that you said it's not easy, but it's necessary for you to walk through. I love that. You know, I think that it's so important that a lot of times in America, we feel like we're just like comfort. Everything has to be comfortable, and for us to do anything,
and if it's not comfortable, it's not God.
Yes, right, exactly. And we don't even understand the process. Yeah. We don't understand, and I think that's the refining process that 100%. God takes us on. And I've had to step out of my comfort zone so many times. And I think that the greatest leaders that I've known in my life are the ones that have taken the biggest risk for God, that have gotten outside of their comfort zone, gotten out of the boat, you know, like Peter walking on water, right? Jesus asked him to come to him, and he got out of the boat. He could have stayed in the comfortable boat.
Yeah.
But he got out on the water, listened to God's voice, to Jesus saying to come to him. And he got out of that boat and he got out of his comfort zone. But then we know the full story. He looked down.
Yeah.
He got caught up in the waves, and it was uncomfortable walking on the water. I can't imagine, and the waves are probably pretty big, and he started to be fearful.
Yeah.
And I think that when we step out of our comfort zone, fear can kind of creep in.
Totally.
And we could second guess ourselves and think, oh man, did God really call me to this state? Or did God really call me to start this business? Or did God really call me to step out in this area? But I think many times we don't want to get out of the boat. We don't even want to be uncomfortable in the first place. And so I think many people are praying, God, show me the vision for my life. Show me my purpose. Show me my calling.
Yeah.
But they don't want to get out of the boat.
Totally.
They don't want to get out, be uncomfortable. Then they do get out of the boat, but then the waves start to get kind of crazy. And then they look down and they're like, oh my gosh, can you imagine? I'm sure they're thinking of what's underneath their feet, the sharks or all the things that our mind begins to just second guess. Like, did God really call me to take this big leap of faith?
Yeah.
And I think that's what, I loved what you said at the very beginning of this podcast, is talking about leaning on God, trusting in him, faith, and believing that, God is ultimately in control. And so we just have to rest in, if we take that step, if he spoke to us, be confident. And then that next step will lead to the next thing that God has for us. So I love that you're doing that, and you're being just everything that you're doing, Leah. I think that God is just doing incredible things through you and Connor. And I'm just so happy and proud to watch you guys. And I think it's just the beginning. And God has so many more pieces to the puzzle that are coming together for you guys. And I'm excited to see all that God has for you guys.
Thank you. It's really sweet. We love you guys so much.
Love you. So now with your brand, I wanted to go back to this. How could you encourage, I know a lot of listeners that are listening, maybe they want to start a brand, or maybe they have a business that they started. What would you encourage people that want to start a brand first? How would you encourage them?
I think, obviously, if it's a desire on your heart that's from God, you feel his hand and blessing over it in favor of like the yes. Honestly, to just be specific with God, of like, Lord, I feel like this is the next step that you're speaking. I need this. I need to see this. And being specific with God, like I feel like he loves that, And it's some of the coolest ways to see God pull through, of even like the simple manufacturing connection in the beginning. I was like, God, I need a manufacturer. Like that's such a missing puzzle piece that I need to start the brand. And he brought it. And it wasn't like right away, but it was through just walking with him, like he brings you what you need when you need it, and he knows when you need it. And so there is such a balance of trusting him and his timing, but also being available and taking the step as well. So I feel like it's just the balance of, you have to be ready for the door to open and in front of the door, but also waiting on his timing to open it,
That's good.
So I don't know. I feel like so many people's stories are different in how it happens, but you have to be available and ready, but also waiting on him.
That's really
and
good.
Just the balance of that.
Yeah. That's really good. I love that. That's so profound. I also, Mark and I, we apply that to our life. We try to apply that to our life. And I think that that's so wise. We also ask, Mark and I will pray and we'll ask God in our prayer times, like, God, what will outlive us? Talking about legacy, going back to that, is what will outlive us.
Yeah.
And I love what you were saying, that can you maybe mention that again? You talked about the marking.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you said on that? I loved that.
Yeah. It's a definition of legacy, and it's to leave a mark. And I might be like miss the words a little bit, but it's to leave a mark on the next generation and a stamp on the future.
A stamp on the future.
And yeah, what you're saying is spot on of like, it is totally what outlives us and the generations to come after, of like what is going to be eternal and not just for right now.
It's so good. And that's the key is what is eternal? Am I living for applause or am I living for the eternal?
Yeah.
And I think that if we're living our life in the light of eternity, and there's nothing greater than we can do with our life. If we are living, I don't want to live for applause.
Yeah.
I'm done, trying to please people. I tried to do that growing up, being a pastor's kid. But I don't want the applause of men, but I want to live for God and live for the eternal. And I think if we have our frame of mind and our trust in God, and if we're just living our life in the light of eternity, then I think that God will keep opening up those doors, and our legacy will outlive us. It will. The things that we are making a mark on this life, our kids, our grandkids, it will outlive us. And so that's what Mark and I pray every day. Lord, the things that we do in our life, I pray that we would run our race and would run it with all that we have. I was talking to my daughter last night, and I said that I just really feel like God is, because he's just showing her, she's 17. God is just revealing to her calling, what she's called to do. She's making decisions about her future right now. And I was just talking to her about calling and all of that, and legacy and so many different things. But she was like, I just feel like I'm ready to receive my baton.
Yeah.
And that's really what it feels like is so many people that have come and gone before us. Yeah. They have ran their race. And I just wanted to challenge people that are listening today, run your race, run it with perseverance. Don't give up. Like what Leah, God gave her this calling to start this label, and it's bigger than her. And she's living her life for the eternal. And so that's why I love you. And I think for the people and the listeners that are listening, that if you live for the eternal, I think it was in Mere Christianity, it was C.S. Lewis. He talked about living for the eternal. Mm-hmm. And so many people live for just the here and now. Yeah. But I think that when you discover your purpose in life, God, and you live for the eternal, your life will find meaning. Yeah. And so many people are just living for a job. They're living from paycheck to paycheck. But when you find that true, the true meaning of life and your calling, the purpose that God has called you to, obviously I believe we're here to love God, to love people, and to bring all that we, tell people about Jesus to everyone. That's my calling, to tell people about Jesus everywhere that I am. And so I just feel like if we live our life for the eternal, not the applause of men, God will keep opening up doors for us, and we'll truly feel fulfilled in our life. Totally. So, but anyway, I love all that you're doing, and I'm so glad that you came on the show today.
I'm so glad I was able to.
Yeah, and I
and
love
it worked out.
I know. So how can they follow you on social media?
Yeah. So the brand is Legacy T Label, like Legacy Label, but on Instagram. And then that has the link to the website, everything on it. And then, I think my Instagram's in the bio as well. So everything's on Legacy's Instagram.
And they can shop all your cute, your swimsuits and swimwear. It's so cute, you guys. And so I want to go buy some cute ones for summer. Do you have some what is one of your favorite one?
I love the one that just came out. I named it after North Carolina. It's called the Carolina. Yeah. And I've gotten so much good feedback for it because it's supportive. It's cute and stylish, but it's also just so, it's not I don't know. It's the perfect mixture of everything.
And I've heard the green one?
It's like a periwinkle color.
Oh, the periwinkle color.
Yes. I've heard from a bunch of different ages that people love it, which I think is cool that a young girl can wear it and feel confident. And then my mom wears it and she loves it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's your favorite one.
I think so.
What is it called
it's the most
again?
versatile. It's the Carolina.
Okay, so guys, you heard it. It's the Carolina. So you need to go shop her collection, and it's so cute. And then you have to just follow you on Instagram and all of that. So she has just amazing things that and just her life. I just love following you, and you're an incredible, just incredible person. And so I'm so blessed to know you. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. I'm more blessed by you. 100%.
Oh, would you mind praying for everybody on the show?
100%. Lord, I just thank you for every person that has listened to this podcast. God, I thank you for this space that we're able to speak your name. God, that we're able to just be in community, God, to share what you've given us. So Lord, we just thank you for that and everything that you've given me in my life, God, that I'm able to speak about it to other people. Lord, I just pray blessing over every single listener on this show, whether they be trying to start a brand or figure out what their calling is. Lord, we just pray that you would speak to their hearts today, God, that you would speak to their hearts and just make it known what you're doing, what their purpose is, the deeper thing, the purpose behind the thing that they're doing, that it wouldn't be just a brand or their job, but there would be a deeper purpose behind it. So Lord, we just lift up your name. We love you. We honor you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So powerful. So good. And so I'm going to have you come back and maybe you can teach me like how to surf.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I think a group of girls asked me to go surfing one time.
Really?
And I'm like, I said yes. And then I backed out.
Okay.
Cause it like makes me nervous. Cause I'm like scared of like the ocean.
Yeah.
The sharks. I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Well, maybe you'll feel comfortable going.
Yeah.
With me
Maybe
sometime.
the pro here, I could go with the pro over here and then maybe we could have fun and maybe I'd love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, love you. Thank you for coming on.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Collective Talk, where we talked all about leaving a legacy. Stay tuned for future episodes as we dive into the topics of prayer, family, and ministry.